And we are here today, obviously, with Invennt, who actually started their own journey with artificial intelligence, and we are very proud to be working with them on the project, which is to use AI to streamline data acquisition and insight generation in consulting. And I'll hand over to Ben to give a bit more detail on that.
Yeah, thank you, Kasia. So I think one of the key things, and you mentioned sort of at the beginning when talking about sort of why AI, for us, a lot of what we do in the consulting world requires, initially anyway, repetitive tasks. And another thing we find is that a lot of our clients are data rich and knowledge poor. So they have loads of documentation, lots of stuff they can provide us without really any clear insight into what that is. So there's a lot of upfront work just trying to make sense of what those documents are, where they are, especially when we come to looking at improving project operations, organisational improvements, and one of our sort of key services here in Canada, the SHRED credit scheme. So when you're looking at collating data, understanding what that data is, we spend a lot of time with our customers doing things that the person doesn't necessarily have to be involved in. So what we're doing and the journey that we've started on is very much about how can we improve that understanding of where data is, what data is that we're looking at, and how we can analyse, identify, and help sort of structure that data to gain sort of initial insights quite quickly on what we're looking at. One of our clients, when we do their credit report, for example, gives us 1 gigabyte of data every year. It's thousands of documents. That historically means I sit there for hours sifting through SharePoint site trying to understand that. Whereas what we're trying to build is, in some ways, it sounds simple, but it's actually sort of quite difficult. We're looking at developing something that will annotate those documents, that will give us an insight from the off of what those documents can contain. And as we move on, the next step is, well, how can we, so that's really the machine learning part of it. It's an algorithm that'll help tell us what these documents are. The layer of AI that comes on top of that after will be about how we can query that data, how we can gain true insight in that data, how we can get more than just, well, this document includes these keywords, which will save us loads of time, will help gain that sort of initial knowledge. And then once we start being able to query the data, that's when we can really start expanding on what we can use it for. We can use it to better understand and help people if they have commercial issues, help them understand whether a project is going well, and start to think, well, wow, are the telltale signs there early days of it going wrong? And all we're doing really is creating something that will read lots of documents really quickly and help us gain that sort of initial sort of insight. So for us, data acquisition is one of our internal key bottlenecks. We find that acquisition difficult, that getting documentation from customers, whether it be concerns about data security and all these type of things. But what we'll have is a platform based on ISO 27001, so it's best principles from data protection, but also something that can really quickly mean that you don't just have to give me 1 gigabyte of data, you can give me 1 terabyte of data, and I'll be able to go through it much quicker anyway. And everything that we do will be better substantiated, better understood, all because AI will do that repetitive task more often, in black and white as well, which is a nice thing for an organisation or for an industry full of grey. We'll really be able to get that data sifted through quickly. So the current process is very manual, lots of back and forth, whereas the AI-powered process, that machine learning will analyse text data, create structured data through it. The model will automatically classify files so that we have a well understood structure, but also it'll be able to read the documents, and if 3 documents reference a 4th and the 4th isn't there, it'll be able to automatically generate an RFI. So then you start thinking about procurement processes and things like that, where you'll have 100 specs maybe, and it's the job of your estimating team or have you to go through them all. Does it all line up? Well, this will be able to read them all and say, well, is anything missing? is anything contradicting itself. This is sort of long-term ambition stuff, but this is where AI can go once it learns and understands how to query the data in certain ways. So we are very early in our journey, but we're very excited about how we can free up time so that we can really create value for our customers.